I saw something in a news article that got me thinking, and I thought, yo, Luca, this is something we should chat about on our podcast. So I'll just read the quotes and kind of get the idea of where we're moving with this. So yeah, the question it was pushing at was, is life any worse without a daily $5 latte, new car, or 6,000 square foot house? And then later on, it moved on to say, coronavirus has stripped life to its bare essentials. And so kind of the questions I was getting out of that, are we consuming more than we need? Is this an opportunity to almost reset and realize that, pre-coronavirus, what we maybe put too much emphasis on material things, and that this virus and this lockdown has shown us that what's like the key essentials to life that, essentially are going to give us well-being. And, some of those things include, like, obviously health, NB, but then also how important family and like relationships are. And
exactly.
I think it's just kind of making us realize, we got all this stuff and we consume so much, but like, at what point do we say, like, we're actually consuming too much and this is all unnecessary? Like, and think of all the problems that it leads to as well, like this huge consuming culture that leads to
excess. It's the problem of excess,
like all the waste and pollution. And
yeah, exactly.
I thought it was quite an interesting topic to just, dive a little bit into it.
Yeah, it definitely hit home, man. It definitely hit home for me. And I just read it and I was like, oh wow, that, it makes sense. Now things are starting to fall into place for me, and it's also like an interesting confluence of things that I've been consuming since I, unintentionally, that I was consuming when lockdown started. And it started with a book that I want to show. It's called Essentialism by Greg McGowan. Jonty, Greg McEwen, sorry. Essentialism. Jonty, you should definitely
write
this. Because it is amazing, and it literally ties in so well with the pandemic and what's happened with lockdown and how people have literally been stripped to our essentials. And what I realized the other week was that I was thinking about it, and I was like, I was thinking, flip, I need to integrate this into my life somehow. And I related so much to the principles of the book that I was like, I have to start this right now. I just have to get involved. And I was thinking about it and I was like, wait a second, actually, if you think about it, the whole world has sort of forced to become an essentialist throughout this whole time. If you think about it, Jonty, you haven't had any like social obligations. You've just had your life at home. You've done your exercise. You've eaten your food. Your sort of your choices and your activities have been very limited this time, right?
Yeah.
I can definitely say for myself is my life has been stripped down to the bare essentials. So I think the challenge will be, anyone who wants to focus on essentialism and someone, if that quote that Jonty read earlier resonates with you, you're going to have to work extremely hard when things go back to normal. How do you sort of keep those principles going that you've now, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Very interesting.
It is interesting. And I think, I kind of posed this question on my Instagram and got some responses from some people. And, a lot of them pointed out.
What were the results? What can you share? You must
So, it was so interesting because people had such differing views. Most people said, like, in fact, I think out of like 50 people who voted, are we consuming too much? I think only one person said they disagree with that kind of quote that I brought up. So are we consuming too much? Do we need to reset? And so most people think and have realized, it seems, that in my social group that maybe we are, but also they brought up some interesting points. So things like the coffee, the $5 coffee.
Yeah.
Also like $5 here in South Africa, that's 90 Rand or something.
Well, prices like
that's an expensive coffee. Yeah.
I messaged you on Instagram after that and I said those prices only exist in Europe and America, and I can definitely say from experience that I've spent £5 on £5 on a Starbucks coffee or whatever, which is obscene.
We have it too good here in South Africa. But so what a lot of people were saying is that actually, what comes with a cup of coffee. So maybe it's not the best example, but what comes with a cup of coffee is a lot of socializing and also a lot of small joys. So I mean, like consuming things do add like a little bit of happiness to our life. So if I think about it, it's true. Like, I mean, going like to a nice restaurant or grabbing a coffee or a smoothie or something after gym, you know, those kind of things like do actually add value and happiness to our lives. So I think what it more applies to is looking at, like it says, the huge house and the, you know, like a new car and everything. At what point do we put too much value on materialistic things? And also what got me thinking is, like, if you ask most people like in life, you know, what's the one thing you want to like achieve or get to? And like people will say, I want to be like either like wealthy or famous. So, you know, and like if you really think about it, you know, do those things like actually add a lot of value? And, you know, I think I mentioned it a while back in one of our other chats about Warren Buffett saying, you know, at the end of his life, success to him isn't how much money or, you know, like how successful his career was. It was how many people loved him and how many, you know, like how many good relationships.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I think, you know, that's what it shows, is like being locked down with family. I'm fortunate to be staying with my family in this lockdown. You know, it makes you realize, you know, those are the really important things in life. And, you know, getting a really good job and earning a lot of money and all that kind of stuff is just, I almost feel like it's a fake kind of life to live, or like goal to strive towards, because there's this human nature in us that always wants more. So like when these guys get to that like successful top and they got all the money and whatever, they still want more, and there's still something that's missing. So I don't know, it's just interesting to think about it.
But Jonty, you got so many, like, you got me thinking as well. There were so many good nuggets of you know, gold that were in some really great points that you brought out. I completely agree with you, and it's really true. Like you know, I think I've also very much been caught up at times in the pursuit of excess, where I'll very much, you know, be wanting to do more. And it's also like that thing, there's that old saying, like, you need to put in time and like just step back a bit and smell the roses, which is like actually appreciating, you know, what you've done, how far you've come, where you are. Ties in with gratitude a lot, which we've talked about. But, you know, you were saying about adding value to your life, like doing what adds value. And, you know, the thing with the coffee is that, yes, I completely agree with you. Going for a coffee with friends and having a social interaction brings joy. And I think the crux of this thing for me was realizing that, and also, I mean, other stuff that I've been researching this week, observing other minimalists and essentialists out there. It's not about stripping away everything in your life, throwing away all your possessions, you know, like Elon Musk saying on Twitter he's going to sell all his possessions and stuff, and you know, and never going outside and never spending your money. It's about drilling down, and you know, the book also says it. It's about drilling down to the things that add value in your life. And the Greg in the book, he says it's so cool how in the book he says, you know, it's the disciplined pursuit of less, and it is eliminating the trivial many to get to the vital few. So, you know, the whole point of this thing, essentialism, minimalism, is to drill down to the few things that add true value to your life and that you know are truly going to make you happy. You know, fair enough if that's going to be wealth and fame and whatever. Maybe, I don't know, but you know, it's that just hit home for me a lot, and it also clarified a lot of things. Like, you know, find the few things that are going to make you happy in life and just chase after that and eliminate everything else, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it also reminds me of that quote that I said quite a while back about, you know, happiness is wanting what you have, not having what you want. And I just think it's important to like really reflect on like why we feel these things. So why is it that we desire fame, or why is it that we desire wealth? Like, yes, financial freedom and those, you know, like to a level can add like happiness and value to your life, because you don't have to worry about, you know, what payment you need to meet,
Yes,
or
right,
obligation you need to meet this month. So it can reduce maybe stress, but I think there's a level where once you satisfied with, or like you can have financial freedom, or at least you're not like in a place of too much struggle, then I think more money just, it doesn't bring you that value and that health. And, you know, many studies have been confirming that this is the case. So I just think it was an interesting thing that sparked some thoughts, and it's something that I have been thinking a lot about. And I think,
exactly.
at the end of the day, you know, we gotta, I think with our generation, I think a lot more focus, hopefully, is towards, you know, not only like material possessions, but hopefully more towards, and people are realizing that, you know, it's about, you know, doing good things as well, not only focusing on yourself and, you know, like pursuing your own selfish like gains or desires or whatever. So yeah, there's just so many things I want to talk about on this topic.
No,
but,
exactly.
Yeah,
but I mean, we can focus on sort of what drives us. And I think, you know, you say, talking about what goals you want to pursue. Like I said, it's drilling down to what's truly valuable, you know. So I think for everyone, it requires people to then, you know, and I've definitely done it this lockdown period, is sat down, had a lot of time to think and reflect, and because it has been quiet time. That's I think that's been the most amazing thing, sitting down, Jonty. I'm sure you can say the same, is that
100%.
we've been able to sit down and actually think about things, stripped down to the bare minimum, you know, no outside influence, no social obligations on the weekend, because we've literally had none. We've become less busy in this time. So what I've challenged myself is to think, okay, what do I want post all of this? What do I want, you know, what do I want to be valuable post lockdown, and when we get back out, and when life gets busy? Because let's be honest, it's inevitable that life will get very busy again. You know, as soon as things starting opening out, I'm already seeing it in my own life, you know, interactions. As soon as we're getting out of lockdown, you know, plans are like tentative plans for holiday are being made. You know, this social gathering, I'm gonna see this family member now, and, you know, obviously always wanting to interact and connect. And I'm still, it's very much a challenge, and something that I'm struggling with is taking a step back and being like, okay, wait, is this something that's going to add value? And this is where also, Jonty, maybe we can talk about for a bit, in the book.
The book
is such a big chapter on, and such a big, and which I've also dug into a lot the past few weeks. There's a big chapter on choices and making decisions. Now, you know, being minimalist and being essentialist, your decision to be that, your decision making framework has to be so robust, where you have to have a strong ability to say no. You only make choices, and you only decide to do things that will add value, that will add true value. So, you know, like your coffee example is, you know, if I was going to go to meet you for a coffee, and after a while I hadn't seen you, and for a catch up, that's a no-brainer. Of course, I'm going to decide that. But if I'm just going to get a coffee because I don't like my coffee at home, and and it's some sort of like image thing where I like whatever, some stupid reason, then probably shouldn't decide on that. That's for me. I'm not saying that should apply to everyone, but that's for me. So yeah, I mean, what I've dug into so much, I don't know what, I'd be interested to hear what experiences you've had with this, is making choices and saying no. Because I, for one, can say that I'm really bad at saying no. So, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when I think of saying no, I start thinking of like dieting and and
Well,
staying
look,
away from sugar.
It ties in.
Alcohol.
It all ties in. Like, it's all the same. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I like what you spoke about, you know, like having a framework, and, you know, making decisions, and using this time also to reflect and look at what's going to be valuable afterwards. with thinking about, yeah, I'm not the best at, I think I can be quite disciplined when I really like put my mind to it. And I think, there is a reason, but I think
I have the same impression. I have the same impression of you, that you are good at being disciplined and saying no to things.
Yeah.
Just when I think from our experiences as friends and stuff through.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, if I think there's a valid reason for doing so, and maybe on this topic, maybe there is, a valid reason where I say, I take some of my salary and instead of buying, I don't know, like the next cool tech thing or, AirPods or something random like that.
Yeah.
I use that money and donate it to charity rather, or, so I think it has made me think about my spending patterns a little bit.
But then that obviously brings you more value. That brings, like, for you, spending your money on that sort of thing brings more value than buying the newest AirPods or buying the newest iPhone.
Because I think, and like I was saying with our generation, I think we want to have some impact on the world. And I hope, from speaking to quite a few people and understanding like people our age in a similar position, I think people do want to, have an impact in their life. They don't want to just, live a great life and say, oh, I was happy my whole life, but I didn't achieve anything, or, help like kind of move towards making a positive change in the world. And I think,
and that impact will take different forms. That impact will definitely, for everyone, will take different forms,
So I think it's just about this, this is what this time, like, I guess, exposes, is it exposes like the fragile nature of the society we live in, where there's such a huge inequality gap, or where the system's so not working as it should be, because we have to at some point look at society and say, is it fair that there's people accumulating billions and billions of dollars for themselves and money that they'll never even need when they're people who are starving? And I think,
100%.
That also kind of comes out from this kind of crisis and makes us realize, like, we're sitting on such a fragile world, and to put our hopes and, I guess our desires on things that can disappear in a flash. We saw like the stock market, actually pause, delete, cut that section. Like we've seen, people can lose his money so quickly. So I think it's just important, like using this time to reflect and realize that there's more to life than just accumulating objects or things that are
100%,
just gonna
because now, like, Jonty,
so,
now, like, what's the point of having a fancy car when you can't even drive it around in lockdown?
Exactly.
So that's the whole thing. My uncle as well, he was, it's a simple example, but he basically was saying about how he leased a car. It's not really that he got a car, but then he didn't need it, and then he just there was no point. So it's like also auditing. It's like reflecting and auditing on yourself whether that thing is going to add value. Do you actually need this thing, or you have to ask yourself those tough questions.
And also what I think is, like, is the future moving towards, or like, is there a trend moving towards less of owning things and more of maybe using things, or like having services? Yes. So if we think about Netflix,
convenience,
Netflix, we don't, instead of buying like a DVD like we used to, we now pay a subscription to use or access services. And I think we've mentioned it, like the future is maybe not going to be, you're not going to buy a car. Instead, you're going to essentially like lease a car, and you get the car, and then you because of self-driving cars,
rent for a day,
when you're not using it, it goes off and it becomes like an Uber. And so I think the future is moving towards owning less and accessing services more, because I think it's potentially, I don't know, a more sustainable model, because if
instead of having
consuming like we do,
instead of having 1,000 DVDs in your house, and having to make all those micro choices about what DVD to watch or what DVD to buy, you just have it all on Netflix, and it just sits there, and
and
does
then
the rest.
When you don't want that service anymore, you just cancel your subscription.
Exactly.
You don't have those. So I think maybe that's the future we see. And so I think Jonty, all of these questions have been
Jonty, I also
going
want to
through
just
my
want to
mind.
come back, and because we were
Mm,
talking about making choices, and how I have the impression of you that you're very disciplined, and you are obviously. I just want to dig in a bit more to that, because I feel like there could be a lot of value there. So
mm,
so let me give you an example. When we were studying together, and maybe it was a week or two before exams or a test or whatever, when you had a choice to go to like a social, some social gathering, or, you had something on and you chose to study rather because you knew you had to, or, you were behind.
mm.
So you obviously said no to the other thing, and you focused on what's going to bring you the most value, which was obviously getting the degree, passing the test, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, do you have some sort of framework, like some sort of system that you relied on to make that choice? Or was it sort of like an unconscious thing where you're just like, okay, I have to say, or like even a simpler example, that you
Yeah. I
could
mean,
maybe relate to?
I think it's just I have like a strong personal drive to succeed. And I think with studying particularly, it was just about staying consistent. So it was making sure that I was, always doing my work and always staying on top of it. And in that way, there was a good balance, because it never led me to having to actually make tough decisions necessarily. But maybe the tough decisions along the way was like, I'm not going to watch series or chill
Yes, that would,
until I've
yeah,
done
exactly.
my work. And
Yeah.
so, and I don't know what I guess what drove me was more, I didn't like the idea of not knowing or understanding something. So that kind of drove me in itself, because it like, maybe it like stressed me out a little bit. I didn't like the idea of not knowing, and I wanted to understand and know. And so
Yeah.
I don't think I could like sit down and chill until I did actually know that.
Yeah. So basically, you
I
had
think,
you had a lot of conviction on what was most important to you in that moment,
mm,
and you acted on that conviction. You didn't give in to like the trivial choice of scrolling social media or
mm,
watching series, which gives you some sort of short-term benefit, but
yeah, you look at the long
you
term.
looked at the vital decision, the vital thing that adds value, which is studying and increasing your
Mm.
knowledge and all of
But
that stuff.
I think what's important is to also understand why I have that drive, or reflect and take time to be like,
Exactly.
because like, I mean, I wonder how much of that drive and that passion is for the right reasons. Because sometimes, why do we want to be, like I said, why do you want to, why does everyone want to strive for success? I think a lot of it is because they want to potentially, maybe this is just my opinion, my view from how I
By
do it.
success you mean wealth and fame and that
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or push for like the good job, or, the good marks or whatever. And maybe it's actually, that's why I think the reflection is important, is because if your whole like passion and drive for things is because you want to like show, like, show that you are like smart, or show that like kind of prove a point to other people, then your whole drive and reason for doing things is wrong. And I think like I was like at fault, for that, like maybe a couple of years ago, where I kind of wanted to prove to people like, I'm smart, and that's like
Of
I
course,
can
yes.
be the best, or I can come whatever. And I think that's like a bad way of thinking about it. And so I think it's just important to understand your motives. And I think, if we link it to this whole topic is, why do a lot of people maybe want that big house or that new car, and sometimes maybe it is more to show off than to actually, have it for their own enjoyment. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying this is the case for everyone,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think it's important to at least have that reflection and actually, internalize what's going through my mind actually, and understand what's driving this desire to have, maybe these material things. And I think
Exactly. Yeah.
it's big on social media, which we're going to talk about, is why do people have this desire to show their best life and, all these things?
No,
Is it to
exactly. I
like
think the
impress
motive.
other people,
Yeah,
or is it,
exactly. Exactly.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's important to reflect and realize that if you're doing things to impress other people, then it's you shouldn't be doing it,
Yeah, I mean the motive.
because
Yeah, I mean definitely the motives. There's some sort of poison in, I definitely found in doing things because of other people's opinions, or not doing things because I'm scared of other people's opinions. It's the flip side, which is also bad, where you don't maybe pursue something because you're scared of being judged.
exactly.
Which is also, I think it's very, very important in this whole conversation where we're talking about drilling down to what will add the most value. And at the end of the day, I don't think the majority of the people really care much for you in the long, especially on some sort of platform like social media where, where, I mean, most people don't give two thoughts about you. So there's no point in wasting time on most
Exactly.
people's opinions. But yeah, I mean, the motive, yeah, and I love the point about that you made, which is basically, you have a lot of clarity on like who you are and what adds value, what makes you happy, what you want, aside from, because, also like, Jonty, if you're motivated by other people, not if you're motivated by proving a point, yes, I think that can help. So my opinion on that is that I think that can help to an extent, is that you want to prove a point. But I think at some point it has to become bigger, because proving a point is not going to last 10, 20, 30 years, in my opinion. I've very much felt that where I run out of steam, for example. So the point is about knowing yourself. And what I've been doing a lot is auditing myself and being like, okay, what adds value? What am I going to do? What do I really want to do? And like, again, talking about the book the whole time, is that's the whole crux of it, is drilling down to those few essential things that just tick the box for us.
Yeah. And I
And
mean,
this is the whole point of what this time has been about for me.
And it can be so hard actually to even, I mean, it can actually be difficult to understand what those feelings and emotions are. So I think it's important to internalize it and think about it. And I think this period is showing, or is allowing people to do that, which they haven't maybe previously had time to do, which is awesome.
And we don't have time because our world is very much distracted, right? Like we've become very distracted because we always have the phone next to us, going on social, this thing to get to, that meeting to get to, this and that, and this friend wants you to come here, but then you've got another party going on there. Like, these are some things that I'm pulling from my own social life, because my own life in the past, because I've always been a people pleaser. And that's what I've realized very much in this lockdown period is like that, like, things have just clicked, and I'm like, oh, flip, I always wanted to please people. So I would always stretch myself too much to please people, instead of doing valuable stuff for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Jonty, you were definitely on that train earlier. I could always see it about you, is that you always had clarity on what you wanted. But whereas for myself, I think I was always rushing around. I always felt like I was rushing around because I wanted to do 1,000 things. I wanted to gym for 3 hours a day and have the perfect diet and like doing a short course in tech stuff and passing university and being able to socialize on weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
But I mean, sometimes it isn't bad to be busy either. So
no, it's not. No,
I think it's about finding that balance.
Yes, balance.
But I think what I really want to,
Jonty,
maybe end off with, or conclude with.
Before you conclude, it's good to be busy, but I think busy has been praised too much. And I very much felt this when the first time I came to London, and the first time I visited Europe and the UK, where it's the first world and things are going and things are hustling and bustling, big city life, is that when you ask people how they are, they don't say good or great or whatever, which I've noticed that we always, when we greet each other, we always say good, doing good, great, even maybe not so good. But, a lot of people do say, how are you? and then the other person says, oh, I'm busy, but I'm good, but I'm really busy. I'm really like, why is that being cheered? And why is that being praised? A lot about in the book is about being busy is like terrible, because then your attention's all over the place. You don't have clarity. Because if you're so busy all the time and you're trying to do a million different things, I found this as well applies to me so much. I try to do a million things and I hardly make any headway. Instead of, if I focused my energy on one thing, I'd feel great as well, first of all, and I'd just make so much more progress.
Yeah. And I mean, we can maybe link that to mental health. And I think that's why we see, things like depression and mental health issues like rising, because people are so busy. And I think what's exciting about the future is maybe when AI and robots and these kind of things take over all the productivity and efficiency things, we'll have more time to focus on ourselves and to rest, because rest is so important. And I think that's what people need to know, is that yes, being busy is okay, but also don't forget to find that time to rest, because to rejuvenate. Our bodies are made to need that time to rest and recover, getting good sleep and those kind of things, those are so important to life. But yeah, I think that's definitely like a really cool topic we can dive into some other time. But what I really want to conclude with is saying, use this time to find what is your purpose in life, and look at it like, and understand what is it that you want out of your life. And I think this time is allowing people to actually now sit down and have that time to reflect and really get and it's not an easy question. Like, people spend their whole lives asking this question.
Exactly.
But I think if you can use this time and at least get a little clearer picture and say, what is your purpose in life? Or what do you want to get away from it? I think that's a really important question.
Exactly. And Jonty, I'll also add, as a closing remark, is that I 100% agree with you. But I also think that, because I felt it as well in this time, is you can't put too much pressure on yourself to figure it all out. Because who knows, like, true. You know what I mean? You can't put pressure on yourself, because I can say from my personal experience that I've put so much pressure on myself to find the answers and to find things and whatever, and to be productive and do all this stuff. But actually, when I realized that you don't have to figure it out and take all that pressure off myself, it was liberating. So I don't think people should go into the rest of this year and be like, I have to find the answers, I have to do this. I think it's just ask yourself a few key questions, like, what makes you happy? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What do you think truly adds value to your life? And I think things will sort of unfold from there.
Hey everyone, before you go, I just wanted to jump in here and say, on behalf of Jonty and myself, thank you so much for watching that episode. We really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed that episode of Mindshift, check out some of our others. They should be around here somewhere on the screen. Also, subscribe to the channel and give this video a like for the YouTube algorithm. Till the next Mindshift, bye for now.